Asbestos is a paradox. It resembles cotton or wool fibers, but possesses the tensile strength of piano wire. Pure water year after year. Transite pressure pipe. The indestructible materials from which transite is made. Asbestos and the technical skill and know-how that go into its manufacture are the reasons why transite pipe exhibits such unusual characteristics.
A good proportion of North America sits on a rock like this. It's asbestos, it's serpentine rock with asbestos veins through it. So I would say that when Mr. Lee Thomas, EPA Administrator, indicates that his proposal to ban asbestos is a major new step towards eliminating any public exposure to asbestos, that statement is at best unrealistic. Good morning, my name is Gary Nash and I'm with the Asbestos Institute from Montreal, Canada. This press conference has three purposes this morning. First, we want to indicate that EPA's proposal to ban asbestos lacks scientific credibility. For illustrative purposes, we've brought a chart along to my right, which indicates the position of various groups, including that of Sir Richard Dole, a world-leading expert in the field of cancer research. In fact, the article that's referred to in the Sunday Times indicates that as far as Sir Richard is concerned, asbestos from brake linings provides a negligible risk. I think you'll find that other articles on that chart are of interest, particularly the statement by the director of EPA's water section indicating that risk in water, asbestos risk in water, is negligible. The second purpose of our being here today is to indicate that EPA's position is out of step with the scientific community and with what we would call the international consensus that was reached not too long ago in Geneva. The International Labour Organization unanimously adopted a convention on safety in the use of asbestos. It was unanimously adopted by over 125 countries, including that of the United States. This convention indicates that, in general, that most forms of asbestos can be used safely if certain practices are followed. The emphasis is on a controlled use approach. On the other hand, the convention recommends the ban of a specific form of asbestos, blue asbestos, or technically called chrysidolite. On both these counts, it differs from the EPA approach. First of all, EPA is proposing a wholesale ban. The ILO is not. Secondly, the ILO makes a distinction between different kinds of asbestos fibers. EPA does not. And we feel that EPA is out of step with that international consensus. Another point that came out of the International Labour Organization meeting was the need to establish a committee to look at the health effects of substitute fibers, with the view of possibly developing an international instrument for minimizing risk from these fibers. I should say that that is also consistent with the World Health Organization's present ongoing review of the health effects of substitute fibers. Once again, in this respect, the EPA is out of line with international thinking. They simply assume that substitutes are safer. And if the proposal goes through, and if people simply assume that the substitutes are safer, then they may be placing themselves at risk, not only in the United States, but also in those countries who turn to the United States for guidance on environmental matters. Should also indicate that the chart to my left indicates what the position are of various governments regarding the EPA proposal. These comments, of course, are extracts, and their full text are available on the public record submitted to the EPA. I would make one final point with regard to our purpose of being here this morning, is to indicate that the EPA proposal is certainly having a significant impact on Canada. Should point out that world production of asbestos since 1981 fell roughly 200,000 tons. In the case of Canada, it fell by over 400,000 tons, which implies that Some countries have increased their production. Soviet Union has increased by a few 100,000 tons. Greece brought on a new mine. But the particular impact, when you assess the situation on a global basis, is having its particular effect in Canada. And so hence our particular interest. Should also indicate that apart from we have many mining communities who are, of course, suffering. We've had a good deal of unemployment, etc., and so we do have an economic interest. That is clear. But there is also basic principles here to ensure that regulations are equitable. We think that our market in the United States has certainly deteriorated. We're not quite sure that it'll ever turn around, but I might say that what we are concerned about is to ensure that the regulatory framework is equitable, because too many countries, or many countries, do turn to the U.S. for guidance. Final point I would make is that our labor unions in Canada fought very long and hard for clean conditions in our plants. They won that fight. Our plants are clean. I think they're quite happy with the situation. There is no excess incidence of disease under today's conditions. You can always check with our labor people, and we feel it's most unfortunate to see what's happening now in the United States. And hopefully from a conference like this, a press conference like this, we'll be able to present another side to the story. At this point, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jacques Dunnigan, who is the Director General of the Asbestos Institute's Research Division at the University of Sherbrooke.